I'll bet you had a good weekend.
There we can hear you.
Are
I
you?
thought maybe you're dumping me or something this morning.
Nope, nope. We evidently had a power failure over the weekend, and my buttons got messed up. Now I'm feeding the
Ah,
telephone. How are you, sir?
doing all right today. How about you?
Cannot complain. Although we got upset over the weekend, we throwing rocks at Iran all weekend long. They announced they're closing the Strait of Hormuz, which kind of takes the bloom off an otherwise pretty good Friday. We had a green day on Friday. The Dow was up over a quarter of a percent, up 149 points. The S&P was up by 32 points. Nasdaq was up over a quarter of a point again, up 75, and the Russell was really the only outlier on Friday. I had them down by about a half a percent, but by and large, a guy with equity in his portfolio wasn't unhappy on Friday, were they?
No, no. Friday ended up being a good day, a nice way to finish off the week because it was a volatile week, and it looks like this week may be no different, Dave. At least looking at what today's numbers look like.
Oh, yeah, whether we like it or not, on a slow news day, we get affected by tidbits, and there aren't many tidbits as far as gossip from the companies are concerned, but international events always do it. Over the weekend, the exchange of fire across the Strait of Hormuz continued. On yesterday, Iran said, that's it. We're closing the Strait of Hormuz. And earlier this morning, statement from President Trump on his social networking, he said, that's it. We're taking over the Strait of Hormuz, which I was flippantly saying before we went on the air. I got to assume defense stocks are going to go up on that bit of news, wouldn't you expect?
I would expect it to, as well as unfortunately oil prices will probably still continue to rise. But we've got to, we've been messing around now. What 4 months with this deal?
Mm-hmm.
We got to, he's got to squish it, get it taken care of, get it done, and put it behind us.
Exactly. The American attention span for military conflict is somewhere south of nowhere, even if we do as a body politic support it at the outset, and that was a split vote to begin with. But we don't have a lot of patience for 4, 5, 6 month long conflicts in this country, and on top of the public opinion side of it, it's starting to become a major liability for President Trump because getting out of it is something that he's finding awful danged hard to do.
It is, and it's unfortunately when it hits the headlines like this, then it's in the headlines everywhere, and that means Congress is starting to rattle too.
Absolutely. It won't be anybody's surprise when we get to the futures as to the fact that oil futures are going up off of that news. We will, at the very least, get distracted in a healthy direction tomorrow because earnings season begins, and we get a whole slew of big banks tomorrow after a real quiet day today. But tomorrow morning, we'll be hearing from, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. And just to keep it not pure finance, the Fastenal company will also tell us what the hardware business is like. It's going to be a busy week, together with a pile of economic news as well. And if it ends up being good, it might actually take our minds off of the conflict in the Middle East, won't it?
Yeah, along the big banks, Dave, we've got Johnson Johnson reports, United Healthcare, Netflix will report later in the week as well. So it's yeah, it's a pretty full week of earnings.
It,
Maybe we can kind of divert everybody's attention.
it'd be kind of nice to, at the very least, get our attention off of the shooting in the Middle East. Word is, and we always start with the big banks first, and they start out tomorrow morning. Profit engines for the big banks are expected, at the very least. The expectations are really good for the financial sector this quarter, aren't they?
It is, everything I read says, they're poised to report booming revenue because of things like SpaceX. I'm not sure how the Iranian war volatility helps them, but evidently it does. Probably in options trading and that kind of stuff. So definitely they're expected to do well.
Understood. Tidbits, pretty much what we're trading on this morning for the most part. But the only tidbit that I found kind of a giggle, Apple announced they're suing OpenAI over alleged trade secret theft. Given the way that Apple has been hammered for falling way behind on artificial intelligence, I'd kind of expect that to go the other direction, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting on
Apple
that.
Apple's not done much on artificial intelligence, but evidently what little they've done, they think OpenAI has stolen. Other tidbits you hear out there this morning that affect the money today?
MGM, we mentioned MGM Resorts a couple months ago,
Mm-hmm.
being having an offer to go private. Well, there seems to be now that because they have not responded publicly to anything yet, but there is a rumor going around. The Wall Street Journal reported that the company is in private talks with Barry Diller. He's the guy that made the offer. So that was a little tidbit there. I'm sure that's probably got MGM, yeah, moving up about 2.5% this morning.
That doesn't hurt a bit, does it? Yeah.
No.
The only other tidbit I've got is we were talking about this on Friday. Great big chip manufacturer from South Korea ended up joining the NASDAQ exchange on Friday, and in one day, SK Hynix made its debut and went up 13% in one day. It wasn't an IPO, but it sure acted like it, didn't it?
It did, and then it sunk more than 15%, posted its worst day in history.
I was going to say it kind of tanked on its home exchange over in Korea this morning, which didn't help a bit. Like I said, we're pretty much on a marked time and a hold pattern today. My calendar shows no notable economic data, and the only earnings calendar item that we got is a little company called FB Financial that I haven't seen come over yet today. Is there anything you've heard from any of the other companies out there today?
I have not. I've not seen any earnings numbers come from anywhere yet. So that's yeah, it's going to be. But
Standard
you're
issue.
right. The week is full of other stuff, though. I mean, we've got the CPI coming out. We've got the PPI coming out. What else we got? U.S. retail sales coming out. It's going to be a big week. Import prices, housing starts. It's just it's a full week this week, Dave.
It absolutely and for sure is, and it kind of all the floodgates open tomorrow morning with the Consumer Price Index report coming out of the government. My calendar for the week is a full 3 pages worth of stuff on the way, and then on Monday it says nothing going on, which kind of turns the attention over to how to be able to make sure my retirement might actually work someday. I've got a traditional IRA, but I keep hearing advice about moving money out of a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. What the Sam Hill is that, and why should I be considering it anyway?
Well, one of the things to think about when you think about Roth IRAs, Dave, is that tax rates are at an all-time low, and we've seen them stay there now for a little while. But given our debt structure and what that's looking like, and inflation, taxes are not going to stay this low forever. And so one of the options folks have is converting their IRA to a Roth IRA. Now, I'll tell you, it's not for everybody, but folks that are in a lower tax bracket today than what they think they may be later on will definitely want to take advantage of it. And if you have an opportunity to use a Roth portion of your 401k instead of a traditional, I would suggest doing that. I mean, that's what I do. I put all of mine in a Roth 401k because that way I know I won't have to pay taxes on it later. But tax rates are going to have to go up eventually. We know that. And so now is a good time to take advantage of the Roth conversion because down the road, you're going to have to start taking money out whether you want to or not. And if tax rates are up, then it's going to cost you more money. And
I was going to say the distinction being that the Roth IRA you're funding with after-tax dollars you've already paid on, so it's just the gains that get taxed, right?
Actually, in a Roth IRA, nothing gets taxed. You're paying tax. You're paying tax on the money you put in there, but all the growth is tax-free. So that's the big bonus there. And so people that have money in a traditional IRA, they can convert it to a Roth. Now, in the conversion, guess what? Uncle Sam wants their money, right? You're going to have to pay tax when for the money. Let's say you had $10,000, you converted from your traditional IRA to a Roth, and you're in the 12% tax bracket. Well, you're going to pay $1,200 tax in that transaction. But now you got $10,000 in the Roth IRA, and now it's going to grow tax free forever, right? And so let's take that one step further to you pass away, your beneficiaries inherit it. Under the Secure Act 2.0, when your beneficiaries other than your spouse inherit your IRAs, in other words, your children, they have to take it out within 10 years. So they have a short time span to take that money out. And if they're in high tax brackets, which typically they are, they're at the top of their earning season. And so they end up having to take that money out of the IRA at an extremely high tax rate. And so it's better if we can do a Roth conversion, pay no tax on it. Your kids would have to pay no tax on it. And your spouse would have to pay no tax on it. So there's a lot of benefits to it. Obviously, it takes planning, and a lot of people think you have to do all or nothing, and it's not, Dave. You can parse it out, right? I have clients that do $5,000 or $10,000 a year. They'll convert it from their traditional to their Roth. I have some clients that say, let's get it done. Let's do $30,000 to $50,000 a year. So at least you want to use your tax bracket. So if you're in a 12% tax bracket, make sure you max out that 12% tax bracket, convert every little thing you can. If you're already in a 22% tax bracket, take as much as you can handle in that 22% tax bracket and convert it, because that's going to be beneficial down the road.
Good tax planning advice there. Let's reset the table. Yesterday, on Friday, generally up day on the major indexes. Doesn't sound like it with the events in the Middle East over the weekend. 45.
You there, Dave? Hello? Hello, hello?
Commodities also suffering by a bit. Gold is pointed downward by $43 down to $4,069.90 an ounce. Silver down only $1.49. That gets us down to $58.67 an ounce. And crude oil, yes, it's on its way up, but it's not a panic run anyway. About 45 minutes before the equity markets open up, crude oil is at $74.33 a barrel this morning. Across the pond, everybody's unhappy in the Asian Rim. The mainland Chinese markets were down by over 2%. One of them was down by 3.5% at the 6 a.m. close. Everybody's in red ink. Europe feels about the same way, just not quite as vociferously. Average European index halfway through their day, trading downward by about 1/3% over, much as anything, Iran and conflict panic over there. Once again, we got a little red ink this morning. Philip will be with us later on this week, and that was a phone weirdo going on there for a moment. Got everything else, Philip, just didn't get the response when I went to the setting of the table. Call Statler Financial Services. Philip's on duty today at 382-0037, and the Statler Financial Radio Show happens 3 times a weekend, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 o'clock Sunday morning on News Talk 730 a.m., 95.3 FM, and News Talk 730am.com. Little red ink this morning, not catastrophic, but it is red. We'll be here tomorrow, same time here, to fill you in on Light FM.
Hey, folks, I'm glad you're with us. We had a little technical difficulty today. We were here most of the show, and then you'll hear that it kind of blanked out for a little while, and then you heard Dave kind of come back in at the end and close it out because he thought I wasn't there. But hey, that happens with technology sometimes. And but we're glad that we got most of the show in, and hope you enjoy it. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.